ilimin da suke da shi a ƙasashen larabawa yanzu ya koma gare su. Da farko su suke da ilimin, manazarta kamar su ibn Sina suka zauna aka dinga translating har sai da Roman Empire ta yi collapsing. Saboda haka ilimin duniya gaba ɗaya yana hannun musulmai, yana hannun larabawa. Su ce suka ga abin da ke kira dark ages, suna cikin duhun jahilci. 1455 da ya fito da printing press suka yi recovering wannan ilimin, suka dinga massification of education, suka dinga fito da abubuwa iri na iliminsu. Ottoman Empire a lokacin ita take controlling din Muslim world. Ottoman Empire suka fitar da decree cewa an haramta a yi amfani da printing press wajen buga littattafan addini, Qur'ani da sauransu, an haramta. Sai da aka shekara 272 kafin Ottoman Empire su yarda a fara bugawa. So could you imagine idan an buga Qur'ani a lokacin, the level of literacy will have been in the Muslim world will have been very high, da kuma littattafan addini. Amma ta suka ce su ba su yarda ba, saboda tsoron kar a gurbata, kar a je a rubuta wani abu daban, kar a gyara shi. Even though they could supervise it, za su iya supervising din abin, but suka haramta. Sai 1727 ba aka ce a buga littattafan addini a nan gurin. So wannan shine background. Abinda nake so in yi shine ina son duba tarihin Ajami, muhimmancin Ajami. Sannan ina son nuna Bible da Ajami. Allah cikin ikonsa kamar yadda zan yi bayani, sai abin nasu ya rabarwaye. Sai suka kasa yin wannan. Mu kuma sai muka cauko shi, sai muka yantar da shi, sai muka fito da wani sabon siga. Shi yasa muka kira shi digital alaramma. Saboda haka yanzu alaramma a daina masa kallon gardi, shi ma digital ne. Yanzu yadda kake tunƙaho kai dan boko ne, kana amfani da laptop ɗinka, shi ma yanzu zai amfani da laptop shi kuma ya rubutu. To wannan shine main summary na abubuwan da the paper is available to whoever wants it. You want a copy or printed copy, ko kuma abin da is available. We believe in sharing knowledge. So gata nan, I don't want you to read it and agree with me. I want you to read it and disagree with me. I want you to say, malam gaskiya gurin can wajen akwai kuskure a can, ko kuma akwai wani ƙarin bayani, ko kuma akwai wani abu da fahimta. Ta haka ni ma zan ƙaru. So read it, provide an input if you want, so that all of us will learn. So shi dan wani yawa idan kana son ka karanta sai ka dan karkace haka, saboda shi kansa mutum a karkace yake. So from spirituality to literacy. In the 7th century, Arabic, which was immortalized in the language of the Holy Quran and Islam, became inseparable. Ko Kirista da ya kai, inda ka karanta Larabci to ka riga ka san abu ne na musulunci. Shekaran jiya ina gani a TikTok wata mace ta tambayi ChatGPT a fitar da sura, ko za ta iya fitar da sura kamar ta Qur'ani. ChatGPT ce ba za ta iya ba, because this is the word of God. Tambaya ta, ChatGPT, can you produce a surah like the Quran? So no, I cannot, because it is the word of God. No, haka ta faɗa. But can you produce a structure like the Bible? Oh yes, we can. Sai ta bayar. Wannan a cikin barkun malaman ku ne malaman. Akwai aya ta Qur'ani inda Allah yake kalubalantar mutane su fito da sura kamar irin wannan. To shekara wajen kusan 20 wayansu sun fito da surorin. Ina da su guda 8 da kafirai suka zauna suka kirkiro surori, sura like it, har paper ne akai, da sura like it phenomena. Suna nan surori guda 8, ba daɗi ba gani. Ni ban yi larabci ba, na ba wanda suka yi larabci suka ce wannan addition ne. To yanzu an kawo inda ChatGPT ake son a yi amfani da ita, ma ta kasa, ta ce ita ba za ta yi ba, babu ruwanta. Duk wanda ce zai abun nan da Allah to fa shi babu, ita ne babu ruwanta. To Arabic and Islam were just absolutely inseparable, even if a person is a Christian. And as the language spreads, the religion spreads, the language also spreads. And in few decades, it overwhelmed the world. And soon enough, the script began to be adopted by languages of people who have been converted to Islam in much the same way as English Roman script in imperially controlled lands, and Cyrillic in Soviet sphere became used as a basis for literacy. And these are some of the languages that use it. So don't think cewa Ajamu na Bahaushe ne kawai. And that's what I've been trying to tell people. Ba abu ne kawai wai Bahaushe ne yake Ajamu ba. Harsuna da yawa a duniya duk suna yin amfani da Ajamun nan. And look at them. from Azerbaijan to Parsi, Hausa, Indonesian, English, Kashmiri, da sauran sun kai wajen kusan 40. Kuma they have contributed to civilization of their areas. For instance, parts Iran gaba daya Ajami suke yi. Wannan rubutun Farsi din na Ajami ne. Kazalika Pakistan, Urdun da suke amfani da shi na Ajami ne. So they have been able to domesticate and normalize the Arabic script to express their languages. And this is something wanda yake ba wanda ya san ikon Allah ne. Mutane sun iya larabci sai su ga to in mun iya larabci ai mutane ba su iya larabci ba saboda larabci is restricted to only the scholar class mai da manyan malamai irin ku ne kuka iya larabcin. To shauran kuma fukarawun addini kamar mu ko kuma fukarawun harshe kamar mu ba mu iya ba saboda haka aka samu aka fara lankwasawa aka ga cewa bara ya amfani da harufan larabcin da kowa ya sani kowa ya haddace a mai da shi a jami'a. That is how all this. Saboda haka ba wai a ƙasar Hausa ba ne kadai ake da Ajami, a'a sauran ƙasashe na duniya su ma sun amfani da harshen. Sai wani bature wani lokaci sai ya fito da wata dabara sai ya ce bara ya nuna gwanintar Ajami din in these languages. So he came up with this original expression: I can eat glass and I'll still be fine. It doesn't make sense. It's just a linguistics, it's an exercise in grammar and linguistics. But he wanted to show that in the same expression can be repeated in the same different languages, but using Arabic script. And there you are. Yeah, it's a Hausa. Ina iya tauna gilashi kuma in gama lafiya. And then you have Urdu, Pashto, Farsi, Turkish, which shows the universality of Ajami. The spread of the Arabic language was quite rapid. Within a few centuries, all of these languages have already adopted it. Its embracement by a great number of non-Arab Muslim languages formed a cultural boundary which demarcated the Islamic world from other lands. Later, a good number of Malayo-Polynesian dialects, the nucleus of the Muslim peoples in West and East Africa, some of the languages of Central Asia, the Indian subcontinent, and a few Slavonic tongues in Europe adopted the Arabic script. So, Ajami is a literary mnemonic device. What was mnemonic? Something that will enable you to remember something easily without having to go through all these linguistic gymnastics. And let's see how it evolved. Islam was introduced in Kano by Dula Martyrs from 1349, although much earlier in other parts of what later became Northern Nigeria. For instance, Borno adopted Islam much earlier. Katsina had Dula Martyrs much earlier. But because Kano was a central market, it was a hub, it was a trans-Saharan trade terminus. So the introduction of Islam in Kano became far much more visible than in other places. And although Arabic was a preferred mode of instruction in the early Quran school established, nevertheless it was a difficult language to learn for daily discourse. Ajami, the use of Arabic alphabet for non-Arabic languages writing, has its origins in the avious palaces in what later became Northern Nigerian Hausa states. Ajami was created as a mnemonic device through which the Arabic alphabet was domesticated and the Hausa language effectively creating a localized literary device. Very, very ingenious. And according to Professor Zanida Haruddin, when I was talking to him about this, the origin of this, they were able to trace it to Sarki Rumpa, Muhammad Rumpa, 1463 to about, I think, 1480 something. More than this, the resulting script must not only retain the Arabic familiarity, but should also be scriptural visibility that is unique to the mindset and cultural world of young Hausa. Early Ajami teachers linked the letters of the alphabet with corresponding real or imagined behavior. For instance, Jim became Jim Sabi. The Jim that is out of alignment, Takauchi, Tasabi. And further, Sin without dots becomes Shin Kekashashe, dry Shin. Okay? While Shin with 3 dots is Shin Meirwa, with a lot of water droplets. Those 3 things look like water droplets. So with water droplets, Ka became Hadarami, Meirwa Komabaya or Jabaya, or lower case H turning back with a dot. And these are the visual representations of some of this Ambaki Wopi, Gambaki Wopi. This was created during Sarki Muhammad Rumpa's reign because they told him we need to come up with something that will enable people to understand Arabic. And so they domesticated the Arabic characters, creating these localized humorous, a little bit funny, humorous way of doing it. Of course, those of you who know Arabic and Ajami will know that there are a lot more Namusahannu, Gallin Kappa, Al Kappa, and all those. And they were deliberately targeted at young learner. So when you say Ahamba Giwofi, the child will understand. So you can see an application of psychology of learning. And we're talking about 1460 something. Psychology of learning. People were able to understand how child learns, and they're able to create an alphabet around children's learning. What do we have now? A for apple, A for this, A for that. At a time when we don't even have apple in this place, but you are pushing apple. But we have this kindergarten literary device which has been developed for over 500 years. Before anybody can come and claim that they were the one who introduced education to us, we have this thing. And this is an example of visual example of what it is. Baki will be empty mouth. And open your mouth. But I think it's an empty back over a chicken. So the British Christian Missionary Society, CMS, led by Reverend Miller, made incursions into the Muslim areas of northern Nigeria by 1900, actually 1899. Reverend Miller led the team to Kano in order to Christianize Muslim Hausa. They have read about Hausa people since 1843 in Ghana, in Ghana, and in Togo, in Libya, in Tunisia, in Egypt. That's where the Hausa diaspora lived. They have never been to Kasar Hausa. But Hausa people have been living in all those places. And overwhelmingly, the story that always appeals to them was the scholastic achievement of Hausa people. So we have to find a way, according to them, to Christianize them, to bring the word of the Lord Jesus to them. And the only way you could do that is to learn their language. So people started learning the language, not in Hausa land, because nobody could penetrate into Hausa land, but where Hausa diaspora lived, particularly in Accra, in Ghana. And they learned the language. And then based on that, they decided to come and bring the word of the Lord. And 3 of them came to Kano in 1898, 99. And they wanted to see Alu, the emir of Kano, about that particular Alu Baba. Alu Baba met them. They had interpreters. So he met them at Panaso and asked them what their mission was. They said, we have come to bring you the word of Jesus Christ. We have come to bring the good word of the Lord. Said, all right, thank you. Now let me tell you this. We have our religion, and this religion has been with us for centuries. We respect strangers and visitors in our community. We're giving you 3 days. 3 days, get out of Kano. Just get out. We don't want to see you. And he was generous enough to even give them porters and who will carry their load outside the barrier of Kano. We don't want Christianity. We don't want your religion. So they retired to Makalifi initially, and then later on to Wasasa, and that's how they established Christianity in those areas. But Alubaba, regardless of whatever you think of him, prevented Christianity from getting root in Kano. That is why I'm surprised and amused when I see one of the most prominent roads in Kano is Miller Road. And Miller Road happens to be named after Reverend Miller. And Reverend Miller was one of the worst evangelists you could ever come across. It was Miller who insisted that Ajami should not be taught. In September 1903, Lord Lugard, who became the Governor General of Nigeria, was actually inclined towards Ajami. Major Burden was also inclined towards Ajami. That these people already have their own literacy. Let us use that to educate them. But Miller was saying no, because if we educate them in Ajami, that means they will not be able to have access to the rich store of Western Christians' literature and civilization. So we must make sure that they don't study Ajami at all. We have to kill it. And we have to teach them Roman alphabet. So you create a situation whereby you have somebody who is a Hafiz, the whole of Quran is in his head. And yet he's now being taught, Yaki the Jahilchi. Try to get rid of ignorance. How can you call this guy ignorant when he can read the Quran backwards, forwards, upside down? He can download it and print it. So the early schools that were established in 1909, you have this ridiculous picture of Manjamanjam Malamai, who were Alaramomi, who were brought and they were taught, this is letter A, this is letter P. Why don't you say this is Alifun, this is Ba'un, this is, no, we don't want that. Because if we do that, that means we are promoting Islam. And the Christian organization don't want to do that. And ironically enough, when we took over independence from the British colonial administration, we sustained that policy that we should not teach Ajami in any way. So you go to a hospital, and particularly gynecology or childbirth or something like that, you have posters advocating for one activity or the other in Boko script. For a village woman or a housewife who has never attended Boko school, and therefore she doesn't understand one of these things. So you have to have a health official trying to explain to her what these things are all about, instead of writing it in Ajami, which you could easily read and understand. Because no matter how liberal you are, no matter how westernized you are, Quranic education, Islamic education is strictly fundamental to our lives here in Kano. But we just simply ignored it. So the British colonized Northern Nigeria in 1903, accepted the CMS advice to force the natives to learn Romanized alphabet and to continue all communication in Arabic or Ajami. Part of the reason why they don't want Ajami is like the chairman talked about Saddam, Anwar Sadat, the Egyptian leader who was using the Nubian language. The British were worried about Ajami because all the emirs were writing correspondences in Ajami. And that has security implication because they don't know what is written. They could read Arabic. They have people who are absolute Arabists, excellent in Arabic, but not Ajami. So they don't know what was going on. They don't know what sort of security implication there could be. That's why they banned it. They stopped it. They said no more Ajami completely, especially by the emirs. So and that was the end of it. Romanized alphabet learning should expose the locals to Christian missionary materials, thus effectively creating the roots of what became Boko Haram. What is Boko? Boko means false. False. Kaliya. That's what it means. So Boko Haram means Kaliyar ilm. It doesn't mean that Western education is bad. It doesn't mean knowledge is just simply. Boko doesn't even refer to book. It was what they call, Professor Barara would call semantic extension. That there is a similarity in explanation, in pronunciation between book and Boko. So people tend to think that book and Boko are the same. They're not. Boko means false. Kamakila Rogo. Boko means something which is not real, something that's not like Amaria Boko, one about Amaria Chitegaskaba. And so, but then journalists turn it around and Boko Haram became Western education is bad. If you listen or read, I have the actual book written by Muhammad Yusuf, the leader or the founder of Boko Haram. He never said Boko was haram. All he said was that there are knowledge that is acceptable to Muslims. There is a knowledge that is not acceptable to Muslims. We will reject the knowledge that is not acceptable to Muslims. For instance, you talk about evolution. When you talk about evolution, you are saying man evolved from this, from that to that. Whereas in the Quran, God created man. So we reject that one. And you're talking about the planets. All those planets, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, and all that, they were the names of idols in the Roman mythology. So we reject those. That's what he's saying. He's not saying the planets don't exist. They do exist, but he's saying he doesn't like the names because the names are not rooted in Islam. But then the next thing you know, everybody's like Boko Haram, Boko Haram, Boko Haram, and then it became totally something else. But those of us growing up in the 60s did suffer this issue of Boko. I remember going to primary school, Tidmarate Primary School, and as you were going along with your white starched uniform and a little bag of books, kids who don't attend school will follow you and they'll be singing. Idan wata za a shiga dan boko ne a gaba. Okay? So it was traumatizing because you are just like what, 10, 12, 13 years old, but you are made to feel that you are going to hell immediately. So that probably reduces the zeal on part of some of our colleagues to learn because they don't want to go to hell. So the best thing to do is to fail. In fact, if you fail at that time, it's seen as and those who didn't fail and continued and kept our faith are now reaping what we have sown in that area. So This association with Boko, Western school, and Christianity was deliberately planted by the Christian missionaries under Reverend Walter Miller in about 1903. The CMS missionaries, however, which is very, very contradictory, they don't like Islam. In fact, he hated the Sokoto Caliphate. He hated it. He hated Islam. He hated it with a passion. He believed that the Sokoto Caliphate was suppressing Hausa people. And therefore, the only way to liberate them is to introduce Christianity to them. He hated all that. But he loved Ajami. You don't like it. You don't accept it. You don't see it as a means of massification of education. But he was using it. In 1932 or so, they created a Bible in Ajami. And this is an example of that Bible. They had somebody whom they converted to Christianity, and they asked him to write a Bible in Ajami. This is not the first. In 1853, Matthew chapter 2 to 4 from the Bible was also written in Ajami in Ghana, in Hausa Ajami, in 1853. That was even before the colonial incursion, which wouldn't have happened until 1903. So you're talking about almost like 40-something years. They knew the power of Ajami. They knew the potency of Ajami. And they were ready to use Ajami in order to convert Hausa into Christianity. But they hated the idea of Ajami being used as part of general education. And this, like I said, is a copy of the St. John's Gospel. It's a very clever strategy. In that while the locals had no means of studying the Bible in English or Romanized Hausa, it would be easy for them to read it in Hausa Ajami and thus become converts. This is the strategy they took. The first official advocacy for Ajami as a literary script was the British colonial administration. Realizing that their territories is home to millions of scripturally literate Muslims, the British introduced Ajami in the West African currencies. Again, you see another contradiction. You have the Bible in Hausa language, but in Ajami. Now you have the Ajami in the currencies that everybody has to use. So you know, you accept, you acknowledge the power of Ajami to educate people. But nobody wants to use it as part of general education. What they wanted to use it was for a particular purpose. Now commerce has become very critical, so you have to. So the practice was sustained in Nigeria even after independence in 1960 because subsequent Nigerian governments realized that Ajami is the only form of literacy a huge number of Muslims, especially those from northern Nigeria, can read. And for those of you who are not old enough, this is what our currency used to look like. Okay? 20 shillings. Sile Eshiran. Written there. Okay? Pound, 1 pound. Pound there. This is a strategy that is used in order to improve commerce. People pick up the note, they can read all the other writings, but they can read the Ajami, and they know the value of that particular currency. The British were using that. They were using Ajami for Christianity, but they don't want to introduce Ajami in schools. And when we took over independence in 1960, we sustained this binary division of not using Ajami in order to teach young people. It makes it clear that easier for Ajami literate to engage in the modern Nigerian economy since they can read the Latin script names of the currency. Consequently, subsequent Nigerian currencies had Ajami script up to 2007 when a wave of Islamophobia swept Nigeria. The Central Bank of Nigeria suddenly decided that including, quote, Arabic inscription on the Nigerian currency is mortgaging Nigeria's sovereignty, as stated by the then governor of the CBN, Professor Charles Soludo, in February 2007. And this is what he said. It is pertinent to let you understand that Arabic is not one of our national languages, and it was inscribed on the notes 40 years ago because the majority of people then can read in the northern part of the country to the detriment of their counterparts in the south. And this was directly to the Sultan of Sokoto when he visited him. And the Sultan of Sokoto did not object. He didn't argue. I mean, you have an array of scholars around you. That was Sokoto Caliphate, for God's sake. But they didn't argue. They said, "To shikena, alhamdulillah, shikena." They have taken away to the detriment of Nigeria. In what way is leaving Ajami on the north be detrimental to somebody who doesn't read Ajami? It is meant for, if you can read it, fine. If you can't read it, ignore it. But it's written in a Nigerian language. That Nigerian language says £1. Okay, you understand that. But there are people who don't understand what £1 is. So you don't want to cater to them because you believe it is detrimental. And that is Islamophobia, fear of Islam, fear of engagement with Islam. Since 1979, Iranian Revolution, Islamophobia has swept the world. People tend to be scared, people tend to be afraid. Even here in the university, after 1979, when we started introducing Salamu Alaikum, and then the people said, why are you saying Salamu Alaikum? I said, okay, hey, you guys, how you doing? Wow, this is better. But you come up and start saying Salamu Alaikum, you are beginning to get us worried. So Islamophobia. So they came up with new currencies. These are the new currencies. 50 naira, naira Hamsin. Now we have made it to 50 naira. Naira Hamsin. There you are. Now, the irony of this is that Hamsin is not a Hausa word at all. It's an Arabic word. Okay, so whether you write it in Arabic characters or you write it in Roman characters, it is still called foreign. So why don't you find a typical classical Hausa word and use it for Hamsin? So, kafa bacin baya ba. Okay? So we are back to Ajami again. So this is a Latinized Ajami, Naira Hamsin. So it has become Latinized Ajami. And those of us who are engaged with debate at that time didn't say much. Oh, no problem. So we have Naira Hamsin, Naira Goma, Naira whatever it is. All those are Arabic words, not Islamic. So those who came up with this conception of Islamophobia, of thinking that they can run away from Islam by using this Arabic script, now they are using the Latin script, but in the same, now this has become Ajamized Latin script. See, we've turned it around now. So while Ajami was removed, it was replaced by Hausa and Roman. Yet it was ignored that many Muslim Northern Nigerians who have never been to formal schools cannot read the Romanized Hausa, but could easily understand Arabic script. And even then, what they did was they converted it, they domesticated the note. For instance, up to a particular time, when you go to villages in order to buy, let's say, bra or kindumo from Plani, she won't tell you it's 20 naira. Murtala ashar, murtala view, murtala uku. That is how they were able to now understand. They have removed the Ajami script, no problem. Now they use the figure of the head of state as a code to explain what it is, and it works. Thus, Arabic still remains on Nigerian currency in whatever form. The first attempt made by post-colonial Hausa officials to reinsert Ajami into public consciousness as formal learning was in 1969, when Halil Rubinji and Suleiman Wali came up with Mukoyi Ajami Dal Arabchi. And of course, those of you who are in all this Islamic thing will have read this book. It's classic, absolute classic. It teaches you not only Arabic language, but how to use Ajami. And it became the main text on learning Ajami in northern Nigeria. But it requires familiarity with Roman alphabet, thus limiting its use. 2 years later, the CMS, Church Missionary Society in Wusasa, also produced its own primer, Koyawa Kanka Karatun Ajami. So you see another contradiction. They don't like Ajami because they think it is Islamic, but they have to use it in order to convert people from Islam to Christianity. So they came up with their own book, Koyawa Kanka Ajami. So what are you saying? Are you saying Ajami is very critical, even though it is Arabic or Islamic, or what? Contradiction. Efforts made so far to harness Ajami script for literary purposes beyond religion is individual and community level, principally centered around Kasokurmi booksellers in Kano City. The study of the volume of the books and other materials collected over 5 years and produced by the booksellers indicate an overwhelming focus on religious tract literature, mainly of the textual amulet variety, and used as incantation in solving one problem or the other. Still based on individual initiative, some of the Ajami authors I talked to realized that many of their audiences can in fact read Romanized literature, having attended some form of basic moral schooling. This prompted the production of mixed script reading material, the first of its kind in the history of Ajami literature in Nigeria. This hybrid strategy of mixing two scripts together worked effectively on two levels. First, it acknowledges an increasing Romanized literacy among members of the Hausa civil society as a result of increased educational enrollment campaigns. And secondly, it reinforces the significance of Ajami as a literary script to the same target audience, thus providing a transition zone between Romanized to Ajami scriptural literacy. The Ajami campaign poster is clearly shown of late Umar Musa Adwa, where you have the first in the political history of Nigeria that Ajami was used was in that poster. And they used it, and all the others, himself and his deputy in Ajami. That was the first time they realized that Gardawa, Al-Ramomi, Al-Majire, and a whole bunch of other people in civil society could actually read in Ajami. So why don't we reach out to them? If you write in a Boko script, many of them won't understand what you are doing. But now, if you write it in Ajami, they will understand. Another effort, beside the political, was by the Kano state government. When in 1980, when it established Triumph newspaper company with 3 publications, Triumph, Al-Bashir, Al-Fijr. The first was in English language, while the Al-Bashir was in Hausa language, Latin script, with Al-Fijr being in Ajami. It was generally welcomed by ordinary readers, particularly merchants who had advertising chances to reach out to local clients in Ajami. There's only one problem, and this problem is what led to my digital alarm. Now, you guys know more of this than I do. This font looks like Arabic font. It's Hafs, okay? Now we have Hafs, we have words, and Hafs is Qiraat, words is also Qiraat, and so on, but it's also a method of writing. When you look at this newspaper, you will think it is from Lebanon. You think it's a Lebanese Arabic newspaper that is being sold. So people, the Al-Arab, the Gardawa didn't take to it. It didn't impress them because it was written in a way that they really don't understand at all. So the Muslim Hausa wanted to promote Ajami for greater literacy in personal and public affairs. Again, the Christians came to the play. The Christian missionaries in various forms wanted to use it for evangelical purposes. The Christian efforts often lead to deadly consequences. In October 1991, the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, invited the German Pentecostal evangelical evangelist Reinhard Bonnke to a crusade in Kano, a Muslim state, a state that has been Muslim since 1349. The posters were printed in Ajami declaring Jesus for all by the year 2000. And also Jesus saves. And the crusade will cure many ailments, particularly if you're blind, the crusade will make you see. If you are if you are limping or if you are disabled, the crusade will make you walk. It was this message that caused the riots, not the crusade. You want to do your crusade? Kano is liberal. Go ahead and do it. But it was the message that they used. And that message was communicated in these posters. This was the poster that was circulated for the event. And these are limping, or what do you call them? Gurugu. What do you call him? Guragu. Yeah, Guragu. What is in English? Guragu, those who are limping without a leg or with a broken leg or shang inna or something like that. See them throwing away their sticks because Jesus has saved them. So Jesus saves. And even the Christian commentators were critical of this poster because you are coming to the doorstep of Islam, in the heart of Islamic city, and saying that. Of course, this one was done in Brigade. You know, King's Garden. There's no area in King's Garden. Brigade. Yeah, that was at. There's a cinema there, Queen's Cinema. That was the area. And when ordinary people, you can even say that people in the heart of the city didn't even know about this. But those in Brigade, those Muslims in Brigade, Tirunwada, and all the others, saw it and said, no, 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 we are not having this. And the next thing you know, full blown riot. So the crusade didn't take place. So what did the Nigerian government do? They asked him not to come. And when Ahmed Didat, who was another Muslim evangelist, and talking about comparative religion, wanted to come, they allowed his plane to land in Kano. They said, okay, go back. You are not coming inside Kano. So he did the sujada on the tarmac and go back into the aircraft and turn. So it's like tit for tat. You don't allow a Christian to come, will not allow a Muslim to come, and so on. So, and Ahmed Didat was one of the had the strongest following at that particular time. And imagine, not everybody has television, but the tapes and the sermons and the comparative engagements with Christians was beginning to worry the Nigerian authorities, because already Muslims don't believe in Christianity. And now this guy is coming and deconstructing Christianity, and that's not good. So the best thing to do is to continue keeping them in ignorance. About recently, within this year, Baban Chiredu, a comedian, started doing the same thing that Ahmed Didat was doing. But in this way, in this case, you can't control it because it's on social media. There's no way you can say stop, or you can switch him off, or you can take him anywhere. So, and the debate continues. Despite the repeated attempt by the Christian community to use Ajami in an evangelical form, the script had been quietly used by hundreds of years by Quranic school pupils and their tutors. For decades, Kano Kurmi Market served as the main bookshop for hundreds of books and pamphlets in Ajami. And in Kano City Market, Kurmi, there is a whole section called Ajamawa. These are the people who are actually producing and marketing Ajami materials. And they even have an association for which I'm an associate member. They have an ID card, they have everything, they meet regularly and discuss Ajami. Some of the literary amulets producers even have a YouTube channel to advertise their products. These are the Ajamawa. Go to the next. These are the Ajamawa. These are the products that are produced. And I want you to begin to think in terms of where I'm landing, because I'm almost landing to the core. Look at the script. None of these Ajamawa was using half script. They are using what script? Because this is a script that they have learned. And in the whole of West Africa, starting from Chad all the way to Mauritania, no Muslim group used this calligraphic style except the Hausa. Nobody else. They are the only ones who are able to do it. I have samples of Ajami writing from Gambia, from Senegal, from Mali, from all those places. They all have their own distinct style. But this is the most unique style and only used by Hausa speakers. Nobody else uses it. This is the Gardanchi that people use. And they use it effectively as community education. That's a love letter. In kana son ta soka, kawai ka dan rubuta wannan ai shikenan mallakin zuciyata ka mallake ta. Then of course Pastor Ahalari, which Dan Kumbodo has done a very wonderful job of, which we'll look at later. And then Aikin Haji da Umrah. See, look at it. Community education in all aspects. If it is romance, it is there. Okay? If it is religion, it is there. Whatever it is, there is a massive pool of literate people. And yet there are some people who call illiterate. I see your boko, so therefore they are illiterate. And yet they have been using this script for centuries. They have been educating themselves and other people for centuries. But we ignored it. And the reason we ignored it is because we don't want them to be educated. We are happy with their ignorance. We are happy with suppressing it and keeping it down. This is very difficult to produce. You have to write it by hand, you have to lithograph it, you have to take it to a printer and so on. Very laborious and very expensive. Did they stop? No. Did they get discouraged? No. They continued doing it. In Kaswa Kurmi, there is Malam Buhari. This guy, I went and talked to him. He has a shop full of this massive amulets. So when I went to the shop and started asking, can you give me one of each? He said, look, you are not really going to use this, are you? I mean, I go there with my glasses and you are not using this. You are using it for research, right? I said, yes, it's for research. Because he said, the people who normally come to do this don't look like me. So I said, okay, you sell these amulets. Do they work? And if they work, have you ever used them? He said, if they want to believe it, fine, I just market it. And he produces hundreds and dozens of this. And people come from all over to buy packs and packs and packs of this. All this to make you popular, to protect you from horrible things, to make you super intelligent. You don't have to read any examination. You don't have to just use the amulet, write it on a board, drink it. Coward, never study, never fail. They believe it and they work on it. These are some of them. Very complicated, very calligraphic, with all sorts of symbolism in it. So you could say this is an addition to, quote, Jahilchi. And that is what the Fulani jihadists actually fought against. They said these people use this to believe in all these things and it leads to disrain from the path and so on and so forth. Now that happened in Etungo. Today is 2025. We are still there. We have not shifted an inch. We are still there. So you cannot take it away from people. This is part of their society. So what you do is not ignore it. It's not destroy it. It's not to downgrade it, but domesticate it and turn it around into something far much more effective. Well, we're not doing that. The Malams are busy fighting themselves. That is why we even have a project called Dwelling Sheikhs. This sheikh is fighting with that sheikh, this sheikh is fighting with that sheikh, and all the sheikhs have become content producers. So you see them wearing massive gowns, beautiful, beautiful, highly embroidered gowns. You see their body language. Wallahi je wata yarinya ta kira ni, ta ce da ni ga matsala da mijinta. And then that dramatizing unnecessarily. But they are not using their knowledge and their audiences to produce literature that will truly, truly educate people. So we are still at this subsistent lithographic level. This is what we have been used and what we have been using. Then the Christians came along and they started what I call the Pont Crusade. You know the Crusades? This was an attempt by the Christians to take over Jerusalem and so on. So I call it Pont Crusade. Computer word processing software in Arabic became available in the northern city of Kano in early 1990s. This created an opportunity for both Arabic and Ajami scholarship. It afforded transition from handwritten books to computer typesetting. The service was patronized by mainly madrasa schools who openly adopted the Hausa script, which was the only one available. Bible translators in Jos, Nigeria, were given license to distribute the Hausa Bible application with the text of Bible in Ajami. Nobody has produced Quran in Ajami. Nobody. The first attempt was by an obscure writer who produced the 10 chapters of the Quran in Ajami. Long time ago, over 40 years ago, it disappeared. And it is ironic that when Abu Bakr Gumi, Allah Jikansa Rahama, and Nasir Kabara, Allah Jikansa Rahama, wanted to write the Quran, they wrote it in Boko script, not Ajami script. And they began to wonder, who is the audience? Who is the audience for the translation of the Quran in Latin script? Who is going to read it? We thought they would be doing it for their Murudei, for their Al-Majri, for their Gardawa, for all that. No, they wrote it in Arabic, in Roman script. But the Christians, ever ready, were able to create a Bible application in Hausa Ajami in John. It's there in the Google Play Store. Just click and you download it, and everything is there. But the mistake was that it was in harps. This is what you cannot negotiate. That calligraphic style, that aesthetic style, that design. If you want to hit the soul of the Hausa person, use that style. But they couldn't. They used harps. And this is what it looks like. Go to the next. And that's it. Can you see? This is the Bible in Ajami. And the typical Garidi, or Alaramma, when he looks at this, he says, I Larab Chini. Even though it is in Hausa, I Larab Chini. He will not understand it. He will not appreciate it. And therefore he will not read it. So what do? How can we get people to come and do this? Ordinary citizens, go to the next one. Ordinary citizens then started using APK, what is called APK, which is a software application in Android. They used Android APK, and then they started picking up the Quran, printed Quran, particularly Sharu Bala Gabari handwriting, because that was the default. You can't write Quran better than him. That was just simply anybody writing the Quran follows his style. So people started using the printed Quran and printed religious book as APK, and then creating an application. It's not there yet, but it's halfway there. Take a look at them. This is a Sharubala Gabari Quran as an application. So you can read now. So the Almajiri, my fellow student, can now read the Quran without the actual book from his phone. And they made it very easy that it can load on any machine. And then some of the other books that they did. Look at the calligraphic style. Very, very critical. This was accepted to the Alaramma, to Gardawa, to Almajiri, because it is something that they understand. It's something that they buy in the market. But Yoda Kullum makes it bad. I mean, you go to the Islamia school or to Makarantar Masallachi school, and sooner or later it becomes torn, it becomes beaten. You have to buy another one. But if it is in your phone, you don't have to do that. It's there for all time. And then Microsoft, makers of Microsoft Office, started thinking, how can we expand language acquisition? Microsoft was not motivated by Christianity. They are just simply motivated by making their product more effective. So they created Arial Unicode. They created Arial Unicode, and the Ajami was introduced for the first time in Arial Unicode by Microsoft. And the person who developed that font character set in Arial Unicode was Mamun Sakal, who happened to be a Syrian American living in the Seattle, Washington State in America. He was an Arab. And by then I had done my Ajamization of knowledge. I was shouting, I was jumping up and down, and nobody was listening. People were ignoring me. They think I am crazy, I am nuts. And you know what made it even worse? I can't even read Ajami myself. But here I am advocating for something. All I know is I believe in this value. So everybody ignored me, but it was on websites. Then Mahmoud Sakal wrote a letter to me telling me that he was the one who developed Ajami in Arial Unicode. We didn't even know that he has done that. So we got into Arial Unicode and found the Ajami characters. But for you to get the Ajami, you have to press Alt 0 plus 061 plus 06. I mean, complicated thing. But we did it. And who is the person to vet it? So I took it to Dankumbozo and said, look, this is Ajami now. Not in a calligraphic style that we know, but at least an Ajami. What do you think? He said, this is okay, this is good, but they made a lot of mistakes. There are some characters that are, I don't know. I mean, you are the Ajami, so tell me what those characters are. And we sat down and he wrote the characters, full Ajami characters, and I sent it to Mahmoud Sakal. And that opened up the conversation. The mission is this: produce a font for us that speaks to us. A words font. The font that our Alaramma, Gardawa will appreciate, understand, and use. He did. He produced a prototype. But there was an almost 10-year gap between that, the initial mission and the production. He sent us a sample, and it looks just absolutely wonderful. This is it. The second Ajami was the most visually representative Hausa Ajami world font so far created. And this is just so beautiful. I was excited when I saw it. This is wonderful. This is amazing. Like I said, I did, of course, Makarantar Allo, Malam Hussein Dandago, and I did all the Kawanka Ruta, Kawanke, but after a while, I left the city and moved to Nasarawa, where we only have Russians, Chinese, British, and there was no school, so I could not continue. But the writing was truly inspiring, truly beautiful. This is it. Sakal Ajami. So the question is, can you develop this into other character sets for us? And how much will it cost? We will pay you, because we know that you are a font designer and you charge money for your fonts. And he has a website in which he has all these fantastic fonts. And he said, well, I'm a Muslim. and I would also like to contribute to Islamic development. So, before I tell you, you have to know I have to do this, I have to do that. I said, hey, we understand, okay? No problem. We're not asking how you spend your money or how you even do it. We're asking how much are we going to pay for this font. He said $50,000. He wants $50,000 for this. And we say like, whoa, no way. We can't afford that amount of money. Even Dangote can't afford $50,000. I mean, this is a huge amount of money. $1,000, we could probably do it. $2,000, we could do it. A friend of mine, Salisu Danyaro, with whom we have similar interests, who is living in the US, said, hey, Abdallah, I will provide $3,000. You don't have to pay anything. I will give $3,000. The man is saying, I know it's $50,000 and so on and so on. Okay, no problem. Unfortunately, we can't continue. Okay, we really, this is the end of conversation. We can't. Then Microsoft got involved. Microsoft said, if West Africa is going to use this font, we will see how we can do it. So they commissioned another person who happened to be an Indian, Jamra Patel, to produce another font with Ajami. See, all this Ajamization of knowledge started making sense over there. Myself and Ungom Palo. Ungom Palo is in the Boston University. He's a Muridiya. He belongs to the Muridiya, and he's the one, just as I'm promoting Ajami in Hausa, he's promoting Ajami in their own wall of Fal. They even call it wall of Fal in the wall of language. So, because he lives in the US and he's an advocate for Ajami, Microsoft started listening to him, and eventually they come up with a font called Kaigelia. Now, Kaigelia was made free by Microsoft, and it contains Ajami characters. And we used it, and we discovered, no, this doesn't work. For you to really use Ajami font, you must have words. Arabic doesn't cut it. You have to have words because that is our own font. So, what is the next? We have given up. We can produce that, we'll just give up. And we are in darkness, we don't know what to do. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intervened. There is an organization called SIL, Summer Institute of Linguistics, which is based in Texas. Their task is only one: Bible translation. They want to translate Bible into as many languages of the world. And Hausa was one of those languages. But the Hausa people are too upgrade, too Torenkei. You know, they refuse to accept any character that has been created for them. They don't want it. They only want their own writing. So what they did was they commissioned a woman called Becca Hasbaka Spalenga. She's a designer. She's not a Muslim. In fact, this is a Christian organization. Said, can you do this? Produce a font that these Hausa people would recognize, appreciate, and adopt. I said, oh yeah, I can do it. So they gave her sponsorship to go to the University of Reading in the UK. And she enrolled into a program called MATD, Master of Arts in Type-Based Design. Where did they get the materials? Kano, Ajamawa. So all they did was to ask somebody from Kano. He went to the market and packed everything that you could get. Varieties of amulets, books, everything. Packed all of it and gave it to her. And the woman sat down, and within a year she has created an incredible words font, the first of its kind on the planet. And when she did it, she gave it a name. She called it étincelle. Étincelle is a French word. It means spark. Tartati. So, and that one was biblical in the sense of that now it is the spark of knowledge. So that is to be used again for Bible translation. So the spark of knowledge. So it was taken to SIL leadership. They sat down. I said, no, this is not going to work. We can't call it étincelle. What word can we use that the Muslim Hausa will easily understand, appreciate, and adopt? And the only word in the entire Hausa vocabulary that can be used was Alkalami. So they came up, they changed it to Alkalami. That is the name of the font, Alkalami. We didn't know that they have done all this. We were battling with Mamun Sakal to at least reduce the price of his fund to at least $5,000. Okay? At that time, I was a vice chancellor, so a quick capacity, iri. So I feel at $5,000, I could afford it. But Salisu said no, he could afford up to 3,000. So okay, you give 3,000, I give 2,000, and we have $5,000. Mamun can reduce it. He said no. It's $50,000 or nothing else. God works in wonderful ways. So we gave up. It was Mamun Sakal who said, okay, while we are trying to see how we can sort out this problem, SIL has produced a font that might be closer to what you think, what you may like. This is the link. And to me, that was the Gutenberg moment. That was the Gutenberg moment. So click on the link, and there at SIL website, Alkalami. Oh, Alkalami, okay. Download it. Arabic. I press a button. Whoa, Warsu is coming out. Oh, Warsu. I was just pressing everything. And there was Dal, there was Hannu, there was Shinke Kacheshe. I mean, this is amazing. That was the Gutenberg moment. Pick it up. And the first person I gave it to was Awole Nkumboro. I said, okay, this is a font we have been able to download. Can you take a look at it and tell me? And he said, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. This is our Gutenberg moment. When Gutenberg in 1455 came up with the printing press, this is our printing press. And so Awolu did not waste time. He started the Ajamization, worse Ajamization, and producing all sorts of things. That font was based on Sharubala. Okay? Repackaged as Alkalami. And the main template was the written Quran by Sharubala. And they made it thick, very thick. That is, it is a heavy font. If you print it in 12-point Roman, it looks a little bit small. So its real size is 14. But it looks typically like Tawada, like you have done a Tawada on it. And they even called it Rubutun Kano. Rubutun Kano, for use in Nigeria and Niger Republic. Specifically for Nigeria and Niger Republic. Not for Ghana, not for Mauritania, not for any, because Nigeria and Niger Republic have the largest concentration of Muslims, African Muslims, and they are the ones who are obstinate. They only insist on writing in their Ajami, the way that they perceive it, the way they understand it. Madam Awal then set up a project. We set up a project. I gave a computer, and I think a hard drive, and so on. And we came up with a project called Tabaro, which I call Tabaro, because they said, no, it's not Tabaro, it's Tabaro. But I couldn't read it properly, so I was saying Tabaro. No, it's not Tabaro, it's Tabaro, the glass. And this is the newspaper that we produced, the first worst newspaper on the planet. Malam Awal was the one who did it. He produced it. So Malam Awal, please clap for him. Ko Allahu Akbar ake cewa, ka san irin wannan gurin musulunci. Ba za a ce clap ba sai dai a ce Allahu Akbar or something like that. But one Malam ya ce ko ka ce Allahu Akbar ko ka tafi is appreciation. So it doesn't matter. So Malam Awal was the one who typeset this. So we started producing a newspaper using that font. Why a newspaper? Because that is what we want to reach out, mass readership. And who will want to read this? Almajiri, Alaramma, Gardawa. These are the people that we're targeting. And we produced about, I think, 8 copies of this newspaper. Then we stopped. Why? Because there's no money. Even the initial production was sponsored by somebody with 10 million naira grant. He gave us 10 million naira on one condition, that under no circumstances, now or forever, should his name be mentioned. Don't mention my name. And he doesn't want anything. He wasn't looking for a particular position or political position. The guy has already retired from wherever he is. And he says 10 million naira. And so this 10 million naira, that's 8 copies of the newspaper were produced, and they were distributed. So we have newspaper, Tabaro. Then there is a book on the creation of man. At the next slide. Go to the next. That again was written by Malang Awal. So maybe I advocated for it. I'm the general, the Ajami general. But he is the infantry, he is the soldier, the foot soldier who actually made sure we succeeded. This is the book that he has produced, Labaran Halitzako. It says about, it's really a biology book, biology, medical book, and so on. And look at the font in Ajami, in a Warsu, the font that anybody can read, understand, appreciate, and most importantly, connect to. You connect to it. The moment you see that, you connect to it. This is it. Go to the next. I think there's another one. He produced Ahalari also. Na Sheikh Abdurrahman al-Hakadari, and he used to sell it for 1,000 naira. You should have brought it here so that people can come buy. You make more money. Okay? You say they will sell it. Who said she 1,005? For marketing or something like that. But he has this, and I bought copies and I took it to our mosque, at the local mosque, and they were rushing for it. Everybody wants a copy because they see it in their own script. And what he did, he has a Boko script, the translation, and he also has the Ajami, the Hausa version, and that connects directly to people. And then we also moved on into Ajamization efforts. We have a dictionary that was written by a pharmacist, but using Ajami. None of the people who are engaged in this Ajamization is an Ajami himself. None of us. We have a dictionary which is a pictorial dictionary targeted at Al-Majre again. So you have a picture of something instead of all this A for apple. So we have it in our language and in Ajami, in a script that they can understand. And then out of the blues, a young man who lives in Sao Paulo in Brazil, Abdullahi Lahiru, contacted me. This guy has taken this effort beyond what we could ever think. He's a programmer and he's a mechanical engineer. He's getting his PhD in mechanical engineering. He lives in Brazil. And what he did, the first thing he did was he took the Gumi translation of the Hausa translation of the Quran and converted it completely into Warsu, Hausa Warsu Ajami. And he released it on the internet free of charge. Just click and download. And then in further development, he created a situation where, okay, like me, I don't know Ajami, I don't know how to do it, but I would like to write something in Ajami. So what he did was he created a website. Write your Boko, whatever it is, write it in Boko, copy it, and paste it into his site. It will automatically convert it into Ajami. Automatically convert it into Ajami. And like I said, he's an engineer, mechanical engineer. If you play this air, then another Alarama decided to do this. Oh, you don't have sound. This is audio video. Gwamnati, siyasa, menene siyasa, menene gwamnati. He'll read it out and then he'll write it. He'll write it out so that the kids can now use it on their phone. Nothing that will take a long time. 30 seconds, 1 minute. But he will pick up a topic, government, and then explain government. And then he will now write it in Ajami so that they can see it. He will reading it, writing it, so that he has created the first audio book in Ajami. Audio book, books that are read, not that are listened to, not read. And he has done that. I don't know where he came from. So we established a WhatsApp group for people who are interested in Ajami, and a lot of big people came in, but they were not able to do anything. Tabarau is dead, and we said, let's revive it. So we needed money to do that. We started chipping in. I think so far we have only 1 million naira. But in the group, there are people who can just sponsor it far much more effectively. But again, there is this fear of Ajami or lack of interest in Ajami. Then we took Malam Naib Suleiman and Halil Rubin's Ajami book and reworked it with Alkalami and produced a new version. Okay, Korean Ajami book. We changed everything. We made it more modern, but we had a problem. The copyright is owned by Gaskia Corporation, and Gaskia Corporation are saying, "Okay, come, let's sit down and talk. How much are you going to pay us?" He said, "What aikin Allah muke, all right? I mean, we're not really making money out of this." And these guys will have probably asked you to do this in free of charge. Halil Binji and Suleiman Wali, they could have asked you to do it free of charge. But you didn't do anything. We did it. I mean, we did all the fonting, we did the design and everything. All we want is for people to have access to it free of charge so that people will learn this. So we are still talking to them about what to do, what the next stage will be, but that is something that we have done. So finally, ladies and gentlemen, like Gutenberg revolutionized printing, the Alkalami font also promises to deliver thousands of Muslim Hausa Quranic school pupils and their tutors from the darkness of ignorance. Used for both secular and religious education, the technology opens up the doors to the future. The next step of the efforts will be geared towards porting the Alkalami font to Android devices for social media communication using the more accepted Hausa Ajami word script for both Quranic school pupils and their tutors. What we want is for Al-Majri in a school, in Tangaya, to write a letter to his dad, Baba, ina da lafiya, ko kuma Baba, ina buƙatar taimako, so that the father can read, because they can read it. The father can read, the child can read, and this is the only way that will bridge them and bring them together. So we commissioned somebody to design the font for us. He's a Hausa from Kano, but living in the Al-Arabiya, in all these Arab countries and so on. So we commissioned him. I mean, you're an Arabic, you are from Kano, can you do the font for us? He said, okay, I'll do it. After a while, back and forth, we even gave him the money upfront. How much do you want? It was so cheap, $300. So $300, no problem. It's $300. So he was writing up and down. He produces a prototype. We tried it, it didn't work. It either freezes up or there are some characters missing and so on. We even sent him that book, which contains all the Ajami alphabets. Eventually, we just gave up. Then, again, the Lord works in a mysterious way. Somehow, somewhere, somehow, we wouldn't know how it was done. Somebody developed an application on Android for which you will write in Ajami, effectively write in Ajami. And that to us was, again, another Gutenberg moment. So what I did in this presentation was to look at how we have developed a font technology. We didn't do it, but we forced them to develop it. And we forced them to develop it in our image, in the way we want, in the way we can understand, in the way we relate. We forced them into that, and I think that is our greatest victory. What happens now, what remains now, is for this thing to be part of public use. Alkalami is a free font, okay? Go to Google and type the word Alkalami font. It will take you to the download page. Click download, click on install, and it's in your system. We want you to use it, we want you to spread it, we want you to appreciate it. When we created that group, one of the members of our group was Makari, Sheikh Makari, and he came in and met a discussion on the use of the font for kutubah. And one imam said, please, can you give me this font? Because he produces a master kutubah, and then that is typed and then sent to villages around. And it was very difficult to do that. So we gave him the font. And he was so impressed, so blown away, that this is the first time that the Gardawa, Al-Majri, in the villages were using a font. They are seeing it. And then Magari came in and said, Kai, kaga rubutu kamar da tawada akali. And to us, that's the most defining moment, that we have created something that people can understand. What remains now is a wider Ajamization of knowledge. Let's write books in English, in geography, let's write books in history and so on. So what we did, again, with my own money, we picked up every single book that deals with the history of Kano and converted it into words to Alkalami Ajami. Taqayyid al-Akbar, Kano Chronicle, Kano Tada Bachigari, Tarihin Kano, all of this. And that generated a lot of problem for me, because then people started saying, I'm trying to divide Hausa and Fulani. I said, why are you saying this? All the books that we are translating into Hausa Ajami are historical. They were written years and years ago, over a century ago. All I'm saying is that let's bring them out for people to see. And our people are saying, no, 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 no. We don't want the Hausa to know what the Fulani have done to them. So we don't want that. This is knowledge should be suppressed. So, but it's there in the libraries. So one of them was Wasikatul Ahal Sudan, you know, the letter to the people of Sudan, which was the Jihad Manifesto. Yeah, Namagama. Which was the Jihad Manifesto. And that clearly showed the trajectory of communication when the Jihad started here in Kano. Then there was Taqayyid al-Akbar, which was the diary of the Jihad in Kano, and the way in which the campaign was conducted, the perception of the diarist on Al-Wali, who was the last Muslim leader of Kano, and so on. People were seeing this information for the very first time. Then there was the Asalil Wangriyun, you know, the arrival of Wangarawa in Kano. And for the first time, people realized that Wangarawa came to Kano in two batches. The first batch was in 1349 or so, during Al-Wali, led by Zaiti. The second batch came in about 14 something during Muhammad Rumpa, again led by Zaiti. So, is it the same Zaiti? How could it be? I mean, they are separated by hundreds of years. It just happened that Zaiti is a common name. It's like saying Alkalami, you know, or something like that, because it reflects the village or the area where he came from. Any leader is called Zaiti, not necessarily the same person. All these documents are there. They are on ResearchGate. If you go to my profile on ResearchGate, you have dozens of documents that have been translated. I can't, like I said, I can't speak Arabic. But I have somebody, Abdullah San Shaibu, who is the son of Sheikh San Shaibu, who is fantastic with Arabic language. So he's the one who is now using the Ajami and the Arabic. He will translate from Arabic into Hausa. We have also now started working on documents written in Ajami by Imam Umaru from Ghana, which talks about the history of West Africa, which was written in about 19th century, and we're also bringing it out. It was in a Hausa Ajami, written in his own script, but now we are repointing it, making it possible, and so that people could understand. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum.